How is everyone?
Hi.
Oh my goodness. Don and Sarah. I'm not sure if you two know each other.
I don't think so. Nice to connect with you,
Don,
Dawn.
so Sarah, Don is the farmland and ranch guy
Oh, I do. Okay, yes, I
out of
do.
Nebraska.
We
Yeah.
were supposed to connect and I had to reschedule, so I got to still reschedule that
That
with
is
you.
correct. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I was just out looking at a lot from a builder this morning, and yeah, I definitely need to pick your brain.
And Sarah, one of the
I'm
reasons
ready.
that,
Whenever it works for you.
Fabulous.
yeah, one of the reasons I wanted Don to join us today is because, as I mentioned on that call, we're going to start having a monthly land call.
Yes.
And it's going to be similar to Luxury Lounge. I want it to be interactive, not a huge format where people are sharing and asking and we're diving into what's happening in the moment. So I invited him to join us on this just so he could see kind of how we do it on Luxury Lounge. Now, I don't know if the 2nd of July, Don, I don't know that we're going to have the biggest turnout
I
because I
know.
know a lot of
Thinking that.
agents are. But one of the things I found with this is I prefer to just be ultra consistent, and then the regulars that come, and that to me is just better than changing it for a holiday. So, and I know that I see a few regulars here and a few new faces. I think the regulars will hopefully attest to this. I always feel like whomever is here is who was supposed to be here, and we have a great time regardless. And we always have a good exchange of information. So it's going to be really good. I would make a quick recommendation if you're able, rename yourself and add the area that you serve and where you sell real estate after your name, similar to Shirley Franz, put California. I like how Shirley, you're just claiming the whole state. She's like, California.
Right when you started to say that, I went in to change it. It depends on who I'm
Okay.
talking to.
That's
But
right.
yeah, I am licensed in the whole state, so.
Well, I don't know if some of you know DJ Ten Hove in New Jersey. Years ago, he just started putting New Jersey because he preferred having people call him. And if it was an area that he didn't cover, he would just refer it to someone who did. All right. So we can jump in. Happy pre 4th of July. I have my little happy birthday, America 250th mug to celebrate. And I'm in red, white, and blue. But I hope that you all are going to have a great upcoming holiday. And I hope today we can still jump in and really talk about what's happening in luxury and what you can do to impact your luxury production between now and the end of the year. And most of you guys are regulars, so you already know the drill. I love to start off with 3 bits of good news. Who can share something good, preferably in your luxury business side of things, but even any good news is welcome.
I got a listing signed on Saturday around the corner from
Excellent.
my house. So that was good. That's a luxury price point, but by no means a luxury property.
Well, welcome to selling in most of California.
Yes.
Hi, Jenna.
Hey there. So it's not a luxury price point. It's like half a mil, a little under, but it was a luxury style home, 5 bedrooms, almost 4,000 square feet. I was able to represent the listing, the sellers as well as the buyers in the transaction, and the now new buyers, old sellers are looking to buy. So, and that all happened this month. So I was very excited about that.
I think that's great. And that's and all of it is, I think everyone on this call would agree. And in the chat, put if you agree, even if it's not necessarily like luxury in the price threshold that KW Luxury would count it. There are still homes that are special and properties that are special and beautiful. And it is another step in your progression of just having more luxury in your marketing pieces and your website and your social media. So I think that is phenomenal. And then you're satisfying and having multiple past clients just from originating from one transaction. So yay. Ainsley?
Hi. So I just earned into KW Luxury. As you know, you were the first person. I got the email and I
I
was so
know.
excited. So
I
I
know.
took a screenshot and messaged you right away.
Yeah. And I was like, make sure you're on the lounge. So we are going to take this moment. Many, if we could all congratulate Ainsley on that big win. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Like, what were the sales and how did you acquire it? Tell us a little bit about that story and earning in.
Yeah. So I also don't really feel like anything I've sold is actually very luxurious. So the big win was I double ended an equestrian property, and luxury adjacent for sure, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely the house needed a lot of work. The barn needed a lot of work. It was just under 4 acres, 26 stalls, 5,000 square foot barn. So a really amazing property. And that's what set me over the edge. And that one is pretty cool how I got that listing because it was a former colleague of mine. She relocated out of the area and she, obviously knows all the agents and she chose me and then also a colleague as well. So there were 2 of us on it.
I think that's fantastic. What were the other 2 sales?
Yeah. So another one, which is kind of like a larger property, again, not quite luxury to me, but 2 houses on half an acre,
Mm.
so a little bit larger. And then I guess I had a previous one from before. It didn't feel like it, but just kind of like a higher end ranch home, really nicely updated. And I sold that just under 2 years ago. So
That is fantastic. So, with how many of you can relate to what she's saying in terms of, well, it counts as luxury and now I'm technically, actually a luxury agent, but it doesn't feel like it. Who can relate to that feeling?
Totally. And I think a lot of people in the luxury who've been who joined Luxury Pro, a lot of us are like that. We're not selling the $15 million homes yet.
yeah.
I was gonna say not yet.
I caught myself.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is, and I think some of you know this, I actually have the privilege of coaching some people that sell in the teens consistently. Like their average sales price is around 6 million. And they're not active luxury pro so it's very funny to me that they're doing it every day, and they're not. But it's interesting. And it is one of the things that I love about our industry on the whole is there's a place for everyone to be successful and we can customize our experience for our own career in the way that we desire. But that is a common feeling. And I think it might be interesting. And again, for those of you that came in, Jennifer, because I know you'll be excited about this, Ainsley just officially qualified in by double ending an equestrian property, and she's now officially in luxury. But we were talking about how it doesn't necessarily feel like luxury because it's not necessarily like the high price points that you guys are selling are not necessarily the gorgeous magazine worthy homes. Does anyone have any comments or questions that they would like to ask Ainsley? Because I am going to use what Ainsley just did and what she just shared to segue into a couple of conversation starters. But does anyone have any questions for her or comments for her? Okay.
Congratulations. Sorry, it took me a minute to
That's-
find you, but congratulations, Ainsley.
Thank
So
you.
a couple of thoughts popped to mind when she was sharing how this came about. And Shirley saying, well, I got that great listing. And, on the call, when we have talked multiple times about there is probably hidden luxury right under your noses in your databases. Her example is a type of example of what I mean by that. And so I think for the second half of the year that if you dedicate even an hour a month, like dedicate 1 hour a month on a Thursday afternoon, a good time for that, if any of you are like ALC members or you have a once a month standing meeting, do it the following week during that same time block because you're already used to something happening once a month, at that time. And make that your time where you put your phone on Do Not Disturb and you open up your database and you purposefully go through looking for the hidden high net worth individuals in your database and or properties that may have entered into the realm of luxury just through appreciation. So I'm not saying it's a gorgeous architectural digest house, but if you had a sale 8 years ago that was already like 600,000, it's possible that property is now a property that would be considered luxury, even though it's a fairly, standard 80s themed house. The other thing to look for are people in your database where you may have sold them a house 8 years ago and they were young, maybe a younger family, early 30s. They had decent career trajectories, or maybe they had just launched a franchise business, but they were in the early stages. So maybe they maxed out what they qualified for at that time and bought that house. Guess what they might be ready to do now that the kids are a couple of years from high school and they're 10 years further, 8 years further in their career or business ownership. They might be ready to
Sell, move.
sell that house and move up to that next level home. I would consider creating a tag that is something like PFL, potential future luxury, just so that you start making a list of people that you want to make sure in your next voice to voice or face to face or like in your interactions that you're sussing out, where are they? Is the home still working? Are they Warren Buffett and Gary Keller style and they plan on just living in that home until they're in their 60s? It's just start identifying that, because there could be more luxury deals right in your current database. Okay. And then last quick thing on Ainsley. And then Sarah, I don't know if you're in a position where you can unmute, but I want to talk about some of the stuff that you've been working on as well, if you're able. So Ainsley mentioned, and you guys know I love it. I wish Jen Drahan was here. Ainsley, Jen is going to be super excited when she hears there was an equestrian component to what you've done. Horse properties, guess what? Where is their price point usually? Are horse properties usually less expensive or more expensive than average?
More expensive.
More expensive, right? So even if someone is sitting here today or you're listening to this on a recording and you're like, yeah, but I don't know a single thing about horses other than I watched National Velvet when I was little. It doesn't matter. That is an area and an expertise that you could develop if you desired, but it is also a database that you could start to cultivate. And if you get a relationship going with them, you could always bring in an equestrian specialist on your listings. That would be particularly important to do if you don't have knowledge around how to evaluate the equestrian side of it. Ainsley, would you agree that every equestrian agent that I know, they do that happily? You would negotiate whatever that arrangement would be, and how involved are they going to be? Will they just be like a 30 really doing evaluation and support on the equestrian side? Would they be a co-listing agent? But they are happy to do that. And that is a way to increase your average sales price and expand your database. And some of you are in city areas and you might be sitting there going like, we don't have horse properties. Look, because you might. It might be right outside, of the metro area. But even in Los Angeles, believe it or not, there's horse properties and equestrian real estate in the Los Angeles area. And that's a pretty significant city. So that I would say, Ainsley, thank you for reminding all of us that there's hidden opportunity right in front of us. And just because the house isn't a luxury house, it doesn't mean that it's not a luxury property. And there is hidden potential in horse properties that everyone can check out. Christy Watson popped in. I don't know if you're in a spot where you can unmute, but I think, Christy knows that and would attest to that as well. So
I would like
Sarah,
to invite you all to Omaha, Nebraska. We'll bringing on a horse property, 1.3 to 1.5 million. And I'm sure that would be 10% of the value would be in California. So,
so actually, Don, are you guys listing that?
yes, here in a couple
So one
months.
of the cool things that we do in Luxury Lounge is when you get that listed done, send it to me and we'll send it out to the regular attendees of the call. Because what a lot of them like to do is they like to take an out-of-state luxury property that's interesting and they'll share it on their social media, which gives more exposure for your listing and then gives them an opportunity to potentially have a referral to send your way for that. So kudos.
How about hog farm? 4 different hog farms. You got anybody? Is that a luxury lounge thing?
I don't think that. So all
0.8
kidding
million.
aside, right? All kidding aside, there are hog farm owners, and you know this, Don, that live in incredible luxury properties and probably ranches or ranchettes, or they want, another place. So there is some crossover. I don't think there's as much crossover in luxury real estate with hog farming that's as obvious as with the horse property.
Okay.
Side note for all of you, because again, all of you should know Don is an amazing expert in farms, farmland, cattle land, horse, hog, all of it. Also just land in general and development. And he's licensed in 5 states. So Don, if you want to pop your info down there, just in case anyone wants to know. One that you're not licensed in Colorado, right? Yeah. So you and Christy would be nice adjacent with Christy Watson in here. We've got that whole section of the country totally covered. 6 states covered. So Sarah, you and I wanted to share some of the things you've been doing. Can you share with everyone what you've been doing in cultivating more leads in luxury and reinforcing your relationships in luxury?
Absolutely. So what specifically? Do we want to talk about the off-market stuff or something different?
I had two thoughts in mind. So, and I'll toot your horn for you. So, two things that Sarah's doing that I think are really cool. We all know that a lot of agents, they go about saying like, "Oh, if you're interested in off-market properties, reach out to me, or if you want to do an off-market sale, reach out." Sarah's actually doing it. So, in the month of June, you closed well over 1 million worth of off market, and one was a buyer side and the other was a listing sold.
Mhm.
So we've been talking about how to now take that, like, and it's not her only off market sales. So she has others, but it's really cool that two happened in 1 month and they were both at a really good price point for her market. And so we've been talking about creating some case study material for each sale individually, and then case study and like selling off market with buyers and sellers, like combining the two in 1 month. And then how do we take that case study as the core ingredients to create social media post customized per platform and maybe some mailings. So we're developing that right now. But Sarah, I thought it would be interesting if you could share a little bit of how you're having that level of success in that off market area. And then, of course, because we do like this to be interactive, if any of you have questions around it, unmute and or put it in the chat, and you can ask Sarah about how she's bringing that together.
Yeah. Thanks, Bridget. So, yeah, I had a really great couple of experiences with off-market deals that closed in June. And so Bridget and I were strategizing around these as they were in progress, and how we were going to, leverage that to essentially create a value prop for potential buyers and sellers who, in my market. So I'm in southeastern PA, so I'm right outside of the Philadelphia area, but I'm in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. It's a very competitive, fast-moving market. Particularly in Montgomery County, a lot of times our homes are still selling in under a week. And so it's very, very tough for buyers still here. So with the buyer off market opportunity, I've been working with two very well qualified buyers, but they were looking in really desirable areas and we just weren't seeing a whole lot coming on the market. And if it did, it was, just moved really, really quick for them. So after a few months of working with them and looking and narrowing down neighborhoods, they had identified a specific neighborhood they wanted to be in of these upscale, newer construction townhomes. The thing was there was only 75 townhomes in the entire development and none of them were for sale. So I wrote letters to every homeowner there that were the difference that I think in those letters, as opposed to like the traditional golden letter, was that I flat out said in the letter, listen, I'm not going to give you a lowball offer. We're going to pay fair market value for the property. If you're thinking about selling it, it's going to make your life a lot easier to not have to go through the rigmarole of listing your home. And I actually got 2 phone calls as a result of those letters. So my clients actually got options. And so they were able to tour both properties that had raised their hands and ended up just closing on one of them a week or two ago. And it was great because the other part of that was that the people that they ended up closing with, so those sellers had actually been in conversation with their agent about potentially moving in the next year. And then this opportunity was presented to them. And it really was a benefit to them because 1, they got a great price for their house. 2, they were able to be super flexible on the timing. We did a lease back so they could stay in the house while they found their next place. And it was just a really great situation for all parties. But also my buyers got home inspections, which here in this market is still something that is being used as a bartering tool in competitive multiple offer situations. So it was really important for them to get that. And it was really important for the sellers to be able to stay in the house while they found their next place. So all the stars aligned. Both of the agents involved, we got our full commissions on the deal. I don't advertise this as a discount process. It's really it's creating such a service for the buyers and sellers involved because it's eliminating so much of the stress and unknowns for them. So that was the one. And then the other was a seller. I had a signed contract with them. They were actually navigating an out of state move from Pennsylvania to Tennessee. So it was a lot because they were dealing with that. And as we were preparing the house for sale, the homeowner was a contractor. He was repairing and finishing up some projects in the house. And so during that time, I used that lead time instead of just kind of waiting for him to get done. I started putting out feelers about this property as an off-market opportunity, and a buyer raised their hand. And that buyer was also already represented by a buyer's agent. They came in, they gave us an amazing offer. It ended up being $65,000 over the list price that we were planning to list the home for. had no contingencies. They knew how desirable the house was, the location was. It's just a really highly competitive area in a great school district. And we got it done. My clients were so happy to have this great offer. They knew what they were looking at was like a really fantastic situation. And they have young kids that, were wrapping up the school year at that time, are getting ready for a big change and a big move. They're like, I don't want to have to disrupt them anymore. So not having to do any like open houses, getting their dogs out for the open house, like all these things that they were stressed about were eliminated. So again, it was, that was an $815,000 transaction that I, got my full 3% on. So, and never had to do the marketing, like the full marketing that I would normally do for it. So it was great. So now, having had those two experiences and others like Bridget had mentioned, I put all of what I just said into Claude and then had Claude create a white paper, which ended up being like a 3-page document explaining these two case studies and the benefits to the buyers and the sellers on both sides. And then summarizing and formatting those into a LinkedIn post. I asked it to give me a video script that I will do for my social media and then Instagram. And then I need to also go back and have it formatted into a letter format to market around essentially as a circle prospecting marketing tool.
And I want to point out that similar to what Jenna shared, you have other potential leads from those activities. So on the first case, there's another potential listing because there were the two properties and that. So might be in the future, but that's in her pipeline. And you're also separately, I put it in the chat, she's also currently working tight time frame. We don't know if we'll hit it, but she's currently working on potentially selling an off market that's over $1 million. So I am going to, and she's using it to create fresh conversations with people she already knows and potentially attract unmets. So does anyone have any questions for Sarah or are you also having some off-market success?
I'm hoping to have off-market success. I'm negotiating one for a buyer who wanted to buy. They were the 4th backup for one of my listings, but she fell in love with this front. And I circle prospect, found somebody that was going to be selling sometime next year. And then she changed her mind and reached out and said, hey, I think you have a buyer. So if you guys want something off market, but she's off on price because she saw what I sold mine for with the 4 backup offers. We went 100,000 over. And so she's like, of course, my house is just as nice as theirs. Right? Like one is in magazines and she just put carpet in hers. Right. So I'm just tiptoeing around the fair market value. I think that's where this one might get hung up. And I told because I represent the buyer on this one. And I was like, well, I think she's off. So if I can't get her down to a reasonable price, let her hit the market. It's just going to sit there. So it might end up being off market. But yeah, the golden letters personalized I've done that now a couple times. And there were 2 others because all the other backup folks in that lakefront, they were not all represented like this other lady. And I've popped out 2 other listing opportunities. So yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's just different. I think like everybody else right now, they all need a little hand holding.
And I think Christy, when you do your golden letters, you add in some specificity on, like you give a little bit of detail around the potential buyer. So it's more real, right? You're like Bridget S. moving from Arizona, qualified, blah. Like you add in that little bit. So it doesn't feel just like a fake fishing lure.
100%. Yeah. And I think people have, I mentioned it to some of my buyers recently. I'm like, hey, if you love this neighborhood, we'll do this thing. And they're like, does that actually work? Because we get those cards all the time. And I'm like, well, describe to me the cards or the letters that you guys get. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not what we do. And I think taking that time to really customize it and share, still keeping it brief, but keeping it like, why do I care? Like, I mean, really, that's where you pull on the heartstrings of the seller. Like, why do they care? And I think that's genius what you said, Sarah, about it, being easy and fair market value. I think that we weren't adding that language. So I think I would, because that is probably a huge concern that we just weren't addressing in our letters.
Yeah, a lot of people are, because there's a lot of marketing. And I was going to ask you, Christy, like, I assume you're probably sending letters, not postcards, and there's a big difference. It's personal. And I will say I get a much better response having that change in my letters that say, we're not wholesalers. We're not trying to, this is a real family. They're going to live there. They just really want to be in this place. And here's why, like Bridget was explaining, like humanizing it. And I also I have specific people for it. I do it for specific clients. It's not a
Right.
marketing tactic necessarily, like
That's
the
right.
typical golden letter, where it's more of like, I hope somebody raises their hand and I'll hope I have a buyer. I really have somebody that I'm working with that I can bring through like the next day if they call me, So yeah.
Hey, Jenna?
Yes. Hi. I also commend Sarah for her strategy with going off market and everyone else. I feel that it eases the tension. You don't have, because it's not on the market yet, not everyone knows about it. And, you can work more intimately with the buyers and sellers and, making it work. So like the house that I just sold, those sellers are now looking at a specific lakefront property on a specific lake. And my plan is also to reach out to all of the neighbors surrounding that lake with a letter, introducing myself, letting them know about I have buyers that are in love with their neighborhood and, are looking to buy a home right off the lake. And I'm hoping that strategy will work for me too. And so kudos to you all.
Yeah, it should. And I would make sure that you incorporate both of those components. We're not wholesalers or investors. We're not going to bring a lowball offer. We believe in fair market value. Like make sure you incorporate that language like Christy and Sarah were just talking about and include you don't give the full name of the person, but give just enough about the person that it gives them that feeling that it's real.
Yeah, and we add why they're looking. I mean, maybe I assume maybe everyone else does too, but why? Like, why specifically that street or that lakefront? Why not the other lake around the corner?
Mhm.
And I think sometimes that also makes it gives it credibility because you can't do that for 5,000 homes typically, right? That is, you narrow down the focus, like, oh, it actually might be legit. Like they actually know
Right.
the neighborhood. They know about our Friday night movie thing at the pool or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a technique that is, when it's nuanced and in this gracious manner and direct manner, it really can bring a lot of good results. So I think that absolutely that would be worth doing for your lakefront people. Any other questions or comments for Sarah or in this topic or
I
Christy?
was just sorry. I was just
Mhm.
going to add that it also gives you an opportunity to connect with the owners in that neighborhood as, a local realtor for that
Absolutely right.
marketing. Right.
You'll definitely stand out because many people, they might not be ready to sell right now, but they're going to see the effort that you put into. Frankly, maybe they're never selling their lake home, but they want to buy a couple condos for their kids in town. Yeah, so you may still get other business because you're going to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, if I could just speak to that, like that. So the other off market opportunity that Bridget brought up that I'm working on is a $1.2 million property, and I for this one actually reached out to everyone in the neighborhood and said, listen, there's someone in the neighborhood that is looking to move. They would prefer a private sale. If you have a friend or family member that wants to be in this amazing neighborhood, reach out to me. And a neighbor across the street called me actually, and the address wasn't in the letter, so they didn't even know they were across the street. But the neighbor reached out to me and wanted to look for his brother, and I took them through the house. So whether or not the brother buys it or not, that neighbor knows that I'm doing that. And should they ever want to sell or like have, somebody else in their world that does, they'll know, well, Sarah did this. She not only was trying to protect their privacy and be discreet with this sale because it's a divorce and, all these things. He knows that about me now. So I feel like that is building a lot of credibility within the neighborhood.
So I want to add something here. I've sold in Southern California too long. You guys are all in different states. Just make sure you double check whatever the regulations are in your state to make sure that when you're handling these off market and private sales, that you're just doing it in the manner required by your state. I just had to say that just to satisfy the NAR gods. All right, so just make sure you're doing that. And by the way, if you have questions around that, I am not a broker nor an attorney in all 50 states. However, if you're just curious about it and you just want to run it past someone before you talk to your broker, you can email me or schedule a call. I'm happy to talk about that with anyone. Because when handled appropriately, this can be something that truly has legs, especially in luxury. It also has great legs in equestrian properties. So Ainsley, if you're looking to do more in that, And Christy and Don, I think you guys would attest, it's also really good with large land opportunities. Like a lot of those things, there's off-market opportunity. I wanted to add in one other aspect, and that I know Sarah even referenced when she was describing it. How did Sarah treat the other agents involved? What did she mention when she was giving us the details about those transactions?
You made it easy for them, whatever their hangups might be. You let them do the rent back, and they didn't need to fix up the house. That's what I
Well,
heard.
also, she included the other agents.
They got paid.
Yes. So if you notice what Sarah did, she straight out of the gate honored agency relationships, whether or not they had a signed agreement at the time. As soon as the people involved said, my agent is Betty Lou Bickpick, a Coldwell Banker, Sarah was like, absolutely, and connected. So just one of the only reason I bring that up is sometimes when I hear from some agents that get a little bristly with golden letters or disappointed buyers or whatever, it's because they feel as if the agent that's doing it may be attempting to cut other people out. Did you ever get any feeling Sarah was trying to cut anyone out? Chrissy didn't go into detail. Is she trying to cut any agent out?
No.
No. Right. So just make sure you have, not to sound bossy, won't be the first time even today though. Like, don't go into it with the intention of cutting out other agents. Go into it with the intention of, if they've got a relationship, great, I'll honor it. If they don't, great, we'll work together.
And you can even include that in the letter and,
Mhm.
say like, if you've already been having these conversations with your agent, I encourage you to share this letter with them and have them give me a call.
Yes.
Make it crystal clear that you're not trying to scam anybody. Because that is
Right.
definitely, I think, in my market, there are some agents that are just very skeptical of other agents. And so it'd be good you want to, build good relationships with other agents too in your markets.
Right. Betty Lou Bick has her hand up. Yes, Betty Lou? That's why whenever I send out open house invitations and circle prospecting to open houses, I always put buyer agency honored on the bottom. So yes, thank you, Betty Lou. Christy, were you going to add something?
No, just that. I'm sorry, I'm my loud typer. I forgot to put myself on. I just have to hop off, so I was putting my contact.
Oh,
Mhm.
and also, Christy, I don't think Don saw your comment. He's mainly in Nebraska, but he's licensed in, Don, correct me if I mess up, Kansas, Nebraska, well, Nebraska first, Kansas, Iowa, South Dakota, Missouri.
You cover a very large area. I don't cover that big of an area. So that's what I was also putting in my comments, that if I don't go quite as far as, Colorado's big. So if it's not me, I will gladly connect you with the right
But
person.
no joke, you see what I mean? Like having Colorado with you, between
Yeah.
Don and Christy, they could satisfy all of your land, ranch, and farm needs in a 6-state area.
Have boots, will travel.
Well, it's good to see you.
The reason I don't
Happy
have my
4th.
the reason I don't have my Colorado license anymore, I let it expire because of the water rights situation. The contract was a few pages, and the water rights, you had to have an attorney. And I just didn't want to. There's people that live over there that can take care of that.
Yeah, we're not an attorney state, so really any land and ranch, there's always attorneys involved, especially specifically for water. Even if I felt like I was a water rights specialist, hot potato,
Still bring it.
straight out of the gate. We never use attorneys for anything here except for that. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
don't mess with it.
Well, Christy, you're passing the baton to Jen.
Hi, Miss Jen. Bye, Miss Jen. Talk to you later.
Bye. Good to see you. I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yep.
So, and I know, sorry to keep the spotlight on you for a minute, Sarah. And Ainsley, Jen is the horse lady I was referencing. So, Jen, get excited because I was hoping you'd be here to hear some good equestrian news. But so, Sarah, keeping you on the hot seat for a minute. A while ago, Sarah started sending out unsolicited CMAs to past clients and also some people in her sphere. Like it was not limited. She was like, okay, I'm sending these out. And when she did it, I know many of you have seen the beautiful envelopes. It's like simple yet impactful. She got these beautiful black manila sized envelopes and she got white labels with black print. I think you even changed that up a little bit, but they were gorgeous. And she started, I believe your first batch, you sent out like 10 or 12. So she made it like an event for them. Just imagine, and that's part of her color scheme with her branding and marketing. Just imagine if you got home today and you had a beautiful big manila envelope addressed to you and you open that up and then it's got cool information about your house. You now have incorporated that where it's part of your anniversary recognition and you still use that. And I wanted her to either share, and maybe Kat, if you can find that photo from social media, because then she also did some social media posts around. She had a cool picture with all the envelopes saying these are going out today, and she had people send her DMs and request like, hey, could I get one of those? Right. So can you briefly, Sarah, talk a little bit about that and how people could use that to hone in on the people in their database that may have grown into luxury, as we were talking about at the top of the call, or just I'll let you share.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was probably the premise of why I started sending them in the first place, was that a lot of people in my market were right on the cusp of luxury, and then over the last 5 years have surpassed that level. So I wanted to start sending out CMAs, because people really didn't realize how much their values had jumped since they purchased their homes. So I started sending them out. I have them. Like, these are my envelopes, like a big black envelope like that. I have labels that are black with my like return address in white, and it just looks
Oh,
really
that's great.
clean against it.
Yeah.
And then I'll print, you can print on the Avery labels like at home, and just make everything look really nice and clean and crisp. And I have a cover letter with it that just it essentially says, whether you're planning to live in your house forever or not, it's just really good to know what's going on with your property value. Here's, enclosed some information about your value of your home, of your neighbors that have sold, and some stuff, demographic stuff about the neighborhood. Now I send out every month. I have it on my task list for this week to do all of my all of my July home anniversaries. So I do it by month now, but I also include that I always get people that are saying, yeah, like, can I get one of those, those property information packets that you send out? And I have gotten, oh, there it is. Yep. Yeah. They look really nice, and they're just really well received. And I think it's a really good thing to implement as like a simple thing to have as part of your strategy to stay in touch with people, because my clients always are impressed. I had a girlfriend I helped buy a few years ago. I sent her hers. She gave me a call. We caught up forever. And it's just like I'm staying top of mind. And she lives an hour from me, so I don't see her all the time, but it gave her a reason to give me a call. And yeah.
I love
Any
that.
questions?
No.
And how many of you, because I know several of you coach with me, what is one of the things I talk about all the time that I feel is underutilized? Making that big deal.
Yeah, doing the CMAs for all that. And you also say, if we know of any other properties of theirs that they
That's right.
didn't, it didn't matter if it was with us, like any property
That's
we
right.
know of that is theirs. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyone have any questions for Sarah, or any ideas on how they could incorporate that into what you're doing for this summer and the last half of this year to get more luxury in particular?
I mean, you can certainly send them to your farms too.
Mhm.
I've done that as well, sent it to my luxury farm. It's just good information to have. And if you have that coupled in with a consistent marketing plan, it's just part of it, that marketing plan to your farm.
Is everyone on here already doing something similar?
No, I have it on my to-do list to do something similar. That have I actually executed this? No.
So I want to, just in case anyone else on the call is in the same boat as Jen, I'm going to recommend, and Sarah, I'd like for you to say if you would agree or not. Just start. So a couple ways you can start. You can literally go into your MLS, pull up all your past sales, put closing date between July 1st and July 31st, and just start with your July anniversaries and just do it. And depending on if you have less than 12 closings that closed in July over your whole career, do them all this week. Just like do them in a week, get them out just like Sarah did. Make the card, make the social media post with all of them splayed out. If you have more than 12, do 10 a week, right? Figure it out, just figure it out, make it happen. What are your marketing colors? What are your branding colors, Jen?
Black, gray, and white.
So I'd probably do the black, similar to Sarah. I think that's a more wow than gray, right?
Yeah.
So literally this afternoon, order black manila envelopes, order the address labels, just do it, right? The other way you could approach it is look through your absolute hottest seller leads and go through them. Actually, just your hottest seller leads. I don't even care about price point, because right now all of us want all the listings that were with motivated sellers, right? So just get your hottest seller leads, find the top 10, boom, get those 10 out this week. How cool would it be if, because I do know a few people couldn't come live today, but they always attend or listen. So if you're listening to this recording or you're here today, Sarah, how cool would it be next month if you guys came to the call and you're like, did it, and you shared the screen with your picture, and you guys were all like, I sent out the 10. 2 of them had typos, and I didn't realize it till they were mailed. Oh, well. And one of them called me, so just can we all just like do it?
Yep.
And 0 of this. Well, I don't know what to put in it. Yeah, you do. Unless it's your first day in real estate. If you've got access to Cloud CMA, go into Cloud CMA, do their pre-listing package, narrow it down, but just pick something. Okay. If you are really struggling with, I don't know what to send, reach out to me. We've got a couple videos. Reach out to Sarah, reach out to Jen. Like, just like, don't overcomplicate it and just do it. Cause Sarah, you kind of jumped right in, right? When you just decided you were doing it, you were like, no, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably sent out like 5 the first time. It's not like I'm sending out a massive amount of them, but I think that they're impactful because we have realty property resource or realtor property
Right,
resource.
right.
That's
RPR.
something
Yeah.
that's part of
RPR.
our board of realtors. We get that,
Mhm.
and that creates a beautiful CMA. And
Yeah.
so like I use that, and it's like hefty enough that it's like gives a lot of great information. And then if you want, Bridget, like I'd be happy to send the cover letter so that you can just send it out to everybody that wants it, like so that
That'd be
they can
awesome.
up in their people's stuff, and then you have that because it's really
That'd be
easy.
so great.
Yeah.
Who would like Sarah's cover letter? Okay, cool. Yay. All right. So if we could, I can't believe we're almost up on time. Ainsley, are you in a spot where you can unmute again?
Yeah, I can unmute.
Can you tell Jen? Because I want you to tell Jen. She just qualified into luxury with a reason that I think you'll love.
Yay. And you're in
Yes.
Ojai.
Yes, I'm in Ojai, California. I just double ended an equestrian property.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay. That's
Isn't
awesome.
that cool?
Yes. Good for
Yeah.
you.
So it's funny because I actually said during the call, I was like, oh, it's a shame Jen couldn't be here today because she would love to hear that. I should
totally plan
connect.
on being on time. Sorry about that. A friend of mine ended last minute airport pickup. One of my friend's moms is not doing well. So my friend
Oh.
flew back last minute.
Okay. Well, we're
But I
just
think
glad
it's
you
going to be
came
okay.
in.
I think it's going to be okay. Yeah. I am too.
And
I'm so glad I got to meet you. Nice to meet you, Ainsley. That's so
yeah, you
exciting.
guys need to connect.
I'm writing. Oh, my phone is on my notebook, but when I take it off the notebook, I will write your name down.
We can connect you too. We can
Thank
send a
you.
quick email and connect you
Okay.
guys.
Hi,
But
Sherry.
Jen's in that same boat where she's in a market where something may be expensive, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is magazine worthy. And actually, Jen, if I recall correctly, because she does specialize in horse properties as well as luxury, you've had some listings, and this might be my personal taste, but like the horse facilities were really more impressive and more beautiful than
Yeah.
the residents.
The definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, "Ugh, that house. Well, but I love the horse prop. Look at that.
It's very common in Wellington for the equestrian facilities to be state of the art, and the home is still stuck in 1989.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is common. Yeah.
It is.
Because if there's
And-
money, they're getting a horse, or they're getting a trailer, or they're adding onto the barn, or they're getting new footing, or they're going to Europe. Like,
Right.
they're not redoing the house. I mean, some are, but yeah, it's a much slower turnover, the renovated properties.
Well, because I think their passion really is with the horses. It's just a reflection of where does their passion
Yeah.
lie.
Yes.
Mhm.
And they're usually not living in those homes full time.
Mhm.
So they just furnish them cute and go on with it. Because people get
So
here and they say, we don't understand what the deal with Wellington's all about. These homes aren't even nice. We get that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's part of what makes your town have its own personality and style, in an area of a lot of other high value properties.
Yes. Like even now, we're not in season. We're total off season. Almost everyone has gone on to their summer competitions. I was driving to a client's house yesterday and there was someone trotting down the bridle path, which is a canal bank with a horse in the shade, just like perfect, like blah, blah, blah. And I thought, it's amazing. There's a pink spoonbill. There's a horse trotting down the street. I'm on my way to see a client. And how lucky am I?
Very lucky.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky. All right. Well, so I want to add a couple of thoughts. Regardless of how the first half of the year started out, you can have an impact on your luxury production for the rest of this year. Think about all of dig in that database. Really think about setting aside that 1 hour per month where you are in your database and your social media looking for, do you have hidden high net worth individuals or hidden properties that are now luxury price point properties just through natural appreciation, and make sure that you're adjusting your communication with them in an appropriate manner. Talk about luxury more often. If you are sending out a property of the week on Tuesdays at noon, your time zone, make sure that at least half of them are luxury properties. frankly, the open rate and the interest in our society in luxury properties and equestrian properties is so high, I would not pull away from making every week, every Tuesday, a luxury property or a horse property or a property of note. You know, talk about previewing properties, talk about going on appointments in your social media, reference that even when you're calling people. Ooh, I usually remember this and no, I'm not. One of you that was sharing earlier, you were talking about how, or maybe it was a thought in my mind now that I think it through, you know, when Sarah is talking about the deal in the one neighborhood, if she's talking to someone else in that neighborhood, reference it casually and normally, like a human being, right?
Yeah.
Don't be like realtor robot, like I am talking to you today because I did a closing near you. A real human, but just allow it to come out and engage with each other. Reach out to each other more often. Check in and see how you are each doing. As I mentioned with Don, if you have something, so Jen is getting ready to list a pretty impressive Omaha equestrian property in a couple months.
Oh, how nice.
When you get a cool listing, reach out
Yeah.
to each other. Call Ainsley and Ojai, call Jen, call Shirley, call Sarah, email them the listing, email me the listing and ask me to send it to all of them. But just start connecting. And then also, if you're not already doing it, share the Omaha equestrian property on your social media in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it shows that you are connected with other high performing agents all across the country. So I just wanted to add that stuff in real quick.
Yeah. I would love to see that property, love to showcase that property. Omaha had the World Cup show jumping championships a few years ago, by the way, which is huge. That's huge. That's like not quite Olympics. That's like World Games level almost, like, or like Pan Am Games. It's a really big deal and you have to qualify. And yeah,
It's very cool.
Are they holding that?
I don't know. Because I didn't go, so it's not stuck in my head, but I know they had built a beautiful facility there, but it's usually in like a special event center. So whatever your
So
biggest like arena is, like where your basketball team plays or something like that, that's probably where it was.
here's my answer. They held it at the Omaha Equestrian Center.
I remember
I'm a
reading
smart
an
aleck.
article about someone that was like in charge of building this huge like event space in Omaha, and I can't remember. But yeah, just Google like Omaha World Cup show jumping and it'll pop up.
So
THI
share.
There's only one big thing in Omaha.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
let's all share what you're taking away from our time together today. And we're a small group. So if each of you, if you're in a spot where you can unmute, just unmute and share what you're taking away from our time together.
New people with horses.
Yes, there you go.
Just start.
And
Excellent.
don't stop.
And don't stop, right? Because Sarah didn't stop. That's been like a year now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, I've been doing
Yeah.
that for at least a year, I think.
Yeah.
Copy from you, Sarah.
That's awesome.
Nice. I love that.
Can anyone else unmute and share what you're taking away? Jennifer?
I need to share more about what I'm doing on the socials.
Yes. Do not be a secret agent.
And I like what you said, Bridget, about bringing things up, just be more intentional about sharing what you've done when it applies
Yes.
to people that you're already in conversation with.
Right. And just be like casual and natural about it. Okay. Any other takeaways?
Get those equity analysis out with a beautiful first impression mailing.
Yes. And don't overcomplicate it. Order the envelopes today, whatever your branding colors are, pick the most wow color, make it happen.
Sarah, I think just like so many different topics and ways to communicate with clients and to help them find exactly what they're looking for, even if it's not, readily available, those letters. And I think that's a really amazing way to market and to also even for those people that maybe they weren't looking to sell, but if they are like, okay, maybe there's another opportunity, maybe they'll choose Sarah because of the way that she marketed herself. So I think that, just the way that she did all of that is really amazing and inspiring.
Yeah, I think so too. And I always find you guys so inspiring. I say it every time. This is my favorite hour of the month. Sorry, Don. It's not.
I know. I'm used to it.
Yeah, it's my favorite hour of the month. And I knew with it being right before the 4th that we'd probably have a small group today. And I still think it was small but mighty and super powerful. I really enjoyed all of it. And happy birthday, USA. Have a very safe and enjoyable 4th. And I will see you guys next month. If you have any questions about getting these things in action, send us an email and Kat and I will help you. Okay. All right. And let's give a thanks to everyone who shared today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
I also want to encourage everyone to look for opportunities this 4th of July with connecting with potential buyers and sellers.
100%,
Good point.
because guess what 99% of agents won't be doing? They won't be doing that. So yes, so just keep your radar activated for opportunity in conversations while maintaining your calm, cool, natural demeanor and not, it's really good. All right. Have a great day.
Thank
Bye.
you.